Personal liberties start to expand, right? You want to maximize personal freedom, but eventually your circle of freedom is going to overlap with someone else's. And that's where we have issues. And that's where we have to have restrictions and limitations and things of that nature. Because to some extent, we have to be able to agree on what's wrong, right? And what we can't do to each other.
Yeah.
And so I think the argument gets into a gray zone because it's like, well, by not getting inoculated, am I actively harming other people in a way that's measurable, that can be proven, again, objectively? That's not just a matter of opinion or public, public opinion or media narrative, right? Like, by not getting vaccinated, am I actively harming my fellow humans? That's kind of where it becomes morally subject to regulation, because if you can prove that by not getting it, you're contributing to the deaths of other people, that's kind of like why we can't go around killing each other, right? You have personal liberty up until that liberty comes up against my liberty to live and to be safe and to, you know what I mean, have health and equal opportunities. So it's like, that's the limitation of personal freedom, it seems, is when it butts up against somebody else's freedom. And it's like, whoa, you're free, but you can't fuck over these people because they're free as well. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah. So I think the argument that a lot of people are making is, well, by not getting vaccinated, you're the problem. You're the reason there's a fourth wave. You're it, and you're actively damaging society and other people.
That's pretty much what's going on right now. That's
the narrative, right? That's the argument.
The narrative. Yeah.
That's the question, I would say, because I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I feel like it hasn't been clearly demonstrated. And there's a lot of evidence that seems to be pointing to alternative narratives that are equally compelling and kind of throw a different light on the situation, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think if you just take care of yourself, you'd be all right.
Like, you mean like live healthy, lead a healthy lifestyle, like don't consume.
We wouldn't even have to have this whole narrative if people just knew how to take care of themselves.
Yeah, mind, body, and spirit, right? Like all three, because I feel like that's the problem, is we have an imbalance. Some people are quote unquote healthy physically, but mentally and spiritually they're very sick, right? And so
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter how physically healthy you are if you're sick in other areas. So you have to like find a way to heal yourself. And then, yeah, I agree, man. There's no discourse right now on, well, maybe we should be talking about the standard American diet.
Yeah.
And the amount of refined sugars that we consume. And
yeah, because you know what? Even if we came to a conclusion about the narrative of the vaccine, well, all right, there's other viruses, there's other pathogens, there's other things that could happen in the future. So why don't we talk about preventative measures rather than just trying to get over this one slump, which is obviously, we want to try to prevent it right now. Obviously, there's people that are being hurt and dying from it. But I think people think the vaccine debate is like the end all, and that's it. Like, once we get over this and that's it. It's like, nah, man, it's just going to get crazier from here on out. You got to start now. You have to take precautions and take care of yourself, or else you're going to keep suffering. It's that simple.
But we're looking for that one shot easy fix, right? And everybody's doubling down because it's like, vaccine, I don't have to change my lifestyle. I don't have to worry about my mental health or my spiritual health. I don't have to change my diet. I can keep doing the same shitty things that I've been doing for the last however many decades. All I got to do is get 2 vaccinations, maybe 3, maybe one every quarter. I don't know. Maybe that's what it's going to come down to, because they're showing that immunity wanes. So that means if you don't keep getting boosters, you're eventually going to run out of immunity, not to speak of course, the variants that can apparently escape the immune response. Now there's one in South America, apparently, that can just get right through there. It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. So the vaccine as a one-stop shop fix, like a silver bullet, if you will, is never going to happen. And that's the narrative that's being pushed now, I believe. It's like, you have to get vaccinated. That's the only way. And it's like, it's being shown right now in Israel and other parts of the world to be not only not the only way, it's not even a way. It's a temporary, imperfect fix at best, and it's experimental.
Yeah.
That's where I've landed on the issue. And I'm still waiting to be convinced either way. But I feel like what you're saying, it's in order to address the real problem, Gary, they would have to dismantle the entire system, because there's pharmaceutical companies that have an interest in keeping us unhealthy, right? Because that's where their profit margin is.
Yep.
There's the food industry, refined sugars, all these things. We'd have to address that as well, because they're showing again, the people who are getting really sick from COVID and dying, they have other underlying issues, either
Yeah.
comorbidities or, I saw an article today. It was like super healthy young man who had just beaten cancer succumbed to COVID. And it's like, he just finished fighting cancer, dudes. You think like he might be
Super
very
healthy.
healthy and young, but yeah, well, obviously he's very healthy if you beat cancer, right? But
Yeah.
what if they use like chemotherapy and he's completely washed now and
He
he
has a
gets
weakened immune
COVID?
system.
Of course he's gonna die. So the narrative is painted like healthy. You know what I mean? They're trying to sow fear on the one hand, and then they're trying to say, but don't be afraid, just come get the shot.
Yeah. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. I think the statistic I've heard that I think most of the deaths from the pandemic, 95% of them are they have some kind of comorbidity. And yeah, that's a high percentage. Like, and in the 5% range, if you are in the 5% range, you're a healthy individual, quote unquote.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
freak occurrences can happen in any scenario. People die from the flu. And again, I'm not trying to minimize COVID. I think another side of the argument is people say, well, look, this many people died from COVID. It added an extra 0.01% to our annual mortality rate. Like the one argument that I've heard in Canada is like the death rates, the annual deaths per like in Canada in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, virtually identical. But the flip side of that argument is yes, but that's probably because we took extremely hard measures, masking up, distancing, you know what I mean? And so if we hadn't done any of those things, I imagine the numbers would be worse. So I think, again, saying like, oh, it's barely killed anybody, it's not a big deal. I think people are forgetting that the reason it wasn't such a big deal is because we cracked down on it fucking hard and quickly, and like entire countries shut down.
Yeah.
So if we hadn't done those things, I imagine those numbers would be way worse. So again, like saying that it's low numbers, it's a fallacy. It's like, yes, but we also took these extraordinary precautions against it for the last 2 years. So if we hadn't done that, I imagine it would be more of a scourge and people would take it more seriously because it'd be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. But I don't think we took that drastic of measures. Like I still was able to go into Walmart and just
Sorry,
hang out there and just breathe
you're
on
right.
everybody.
100%. You're totally right. And when I say drastic for us, again, we were talking about normal before you hit record, right? What is normal?
Mm-hmm.
For us, the precautions that we took as Westerners were in a democratic society. Wow. Authoritarian. There's people who are making analogies, to concentration camps and the Nazi times. And it's like, let's slow down. We're not there. I can still go to the store. I can still do all these things. I'm not being tortured. I'm not in a free labor camp.
Yeah, we just had some limitations on our life.
Yeah, I can't go to the movie theater. Ooh, okay. I can still get Netflix. Like it's not persecution to the point where people are dying and stuff from it. But yeah, I think they were pretty extraordinary. And a lot of small businesses suffered and went under. And like for a capitalist society to kind of throw these people under the bus, again, they weren't big corporations. So I understand why it was like dispensable, but it's still, to let those businesses die out. I think, again, that was pretty extreme for us.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme, that for sure.
I didn't see people physically for months. Like I actually tried to follow the rules because I'm a hermit. So I was like, perfect. I don't have to see anybody, but I'm sure a lot of people followed the rules even more strictly than I did. So I think that probably is why it doesn't seem like as severe as it is. Because yeah, it sounds like a real motherfucker. Everybody that gets it is like, nobody's speaking fondly of it. Nobody's saying like that wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, I wouldn't want to go through that again. That's the number one thing that I keep hearing about
there's just so many questions, because then there's like people that also get it and don't have any symptoms, or just have a mild case, and then it's just like there's so many questions, but conspiracies between PCR tests and if they're like what that is actually testing for. There's just so many questions right now.
Yeah.
There's just so many.
And I think with Delta, now that Delta is the number one strain, I don't hear any more stories of people who are like, oh, I didn't even know I had it. Like, unless you're double vaccinated, which is why I think, again, this whole narrative of unvaccinated people pushing the fourth wave, actually, I believe A lot of doubly vaccinated people are getting it. They're asymptomatic and they're driving it. And the people who are getting hospitalized are the poor saps like me who don't have the shots.
Yeah.
So, like, to blame the unvaccinated people, I feel is backwards. I think they've shown even doubly vaccinated, you can still get it, still pass it along. The only difference is you're going to be either asymptomatic or you're not going to die from it.
Yeah,
So,
people still get it in the hospital. Like Oscar De La Hoya was in the hospital. So it's
doubly
just like
vaccinated. Yeah, it
there's
happens to
there's so
everybody.
much like there's so much like
Yeah.
funny business going on. It's like because you don't know what to believe. You don't know what side is right. Because I think both sides have a point. If there's
Mm-hmm.
two sides in this, they both obviously have a point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like I don't know. I'm kind of just at the point where I'm like I don't really care whose side I'm on. I'm on my own side. I'm just taking care of myself at this point.
Yeah.
I know how to take care of myself. What's good for my body and what's good for my spirit, and that's kind of what I'm on. I don't really fall into anybody else's narrative because that's I mean getting on the topic of narrative, it's really easy to get lost in somebody else's narrative nowadays, and you get sucked into that, and then you get sucked into echo chambers where other people are also saying, yeah, you're right, we're right, and then you got the opposite side doing the same exact thing, and it's just like it's this like sickness of the mind that it's so easy to get sucked into
Yeah,
when
man.
I'm just like I'm at a point where I'm like, man, I'm not about that. Like I can see right through it. I can
Yeah.
see right through just like the lunacy of it and how people are using their mental energy that they could be using on themselves to just fuel this echo chamber, fuel
Mm.
these narratives that aren't they're not even potential they're not there's no truth, you know what I mean? It's all just speculation at this point. It really is. Because I mean, what do you believe? Who do you believe? I don't know. I'm not gonna believe some random dude that doesn't know how to take care of himself. I'm gonna believe me.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. Like I know what's good for myself. I haven't been sick in like 5 years. You know what I mean? Like
Nice.
I know what the it's just like if everybody was on this wavelength, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just trying to say we can all get on this wavelength. Like we can all be these healthy individuals if we really want to be. If you want to take the time for yourself, which isn't even that much time, and if you want to take the time to research what you should eat and what you should put into your body and the kinds of energy you should put into your body, we wouldn't have this vaccine debate or the anti-vaxxers and the pro-vaxxers. There wouldn't
Hmm.
be that debate because naturally, I think if you're truly living at your fullest potential and you don't have any kind of like, born with any kind of like malady, um, your body is able to fight off a lot of contagions. Like your body is able to heal itself. Look at Wim
Bro,
Hof.
the immune system is the only, like, one of the only systems that we have that gets stronger the more it gets knocked down. Like, that's
Hmm.
how the immune system works. You build it up by knocking it down. So that means you get exposed to things, you get sick, and then it gets stronger from that. It's almost like it learns from every virus and every infection it has to fight it more effectively the next time. So yeah, unless you have some like immunocompromised situation or some kind of inherent condition like you're saying that you were born with or whatever,
Yeah,
like, and even those people, I mean, talk to my wife, you can reverse a lot of the effects of those types of things, again,
really.
by
Does
studying
she
what you're
have?
talking about. Absolutely, she has. Yeah, she has Crohn's disease, or I guess I should say she had Crohn's disease, because I
Hmm.
don't feel like she has it anymore. But anyways, yeah, she's looked into all that stuff, and for her, again, it's mind, body, spirit. It's not just um the physical, although it started like that for her. That was the start of her journey, was like dieting, exercise, and that kind of stuff, but that led her within the body and within the mind and the spirit, right? So,
It's all
but yeah,
connected.
100%. But you're saying like both sides have a point. I think yes, and they are also missing the point, which is what you said afterwards, that if we
Yeah.
were looking after ourselves and if we actually spent some time and learned about this stuff and applied it to our lives, a lot of us, the vast majority of people, wouldn't have an issue with COVID. They'd be able to fight it off no problem,
Yeah.
right? But that's not the world that we live in, because
No.
your health is not the number one priority for pharmaceutical companies. And in fact, it's the other way around. If you're healthy, they don't make money off of you, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You don't benefit them, so they're not going to be looking out for you. But yeah, so why don't you tell me, like you're saying, you've got the recipe, you've got the secret sauce. Why don't you tell us what that is? Because I'd be interested to hear. I mean, obviously everybody's got their own recipe, but how do you stay healthy? How do you stay well?
Well, a lot of yoga, a lot of exercise, but not necessarily like strenuous, just like going for a walk,
Yep.
maybe a slight jog regularly, get the blood flowing a little bit. But definitely a lot
Yep.
of yoga, obviously, man. I live off of yoga.
Yep.
And then A lot of cannabis, a lot of cannabinoids.
Yeah.
And then I take a multivitamin every day. I take, NMN and resveratrol. It's like anti-aging supplement. I take
Okay.
that. It's like an antioxidant.
Nice.
Listen to he was on Joe Rogan. He's an anti-aging guy. I think his name's John Sinclair or something like that. Something
Hmm.
Sinclair. I don't know. I can send it to you later. But
Yeah.
he says a lot about resveratrol and NMN and the anti-aging properties
Nice.
of those.
Yep.
And then I take mushroom supplements, which is like
Yep.
medicinal mushroom supplements. And that's pretty much it, man. I just, and
What do you eat? What kind of diet do you have?
well, I don't eat meat. I don't eat
Okay.
dairy. I don't eat well, I'm
Are you
vegan.
vegan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
But I know, I mean, that's an umbrella term because you can be vegan and eat Cheetos. Actually, no, that's cheese. I'll say you can be vegan and eat potato chips. I'll say all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
But you don't eat processed foods or what?
No, I eat some processed foods. I'm not gonna say like I'm a whole foods vegan, but I
Okay.
try to be. Like I eat a lot of greens, a lot of
Yep.
fruit too. A
Yep.
lot of I love apples, bananas. Getting hungry now. A lot
Go
of
get something, man. Go grab a
organic
snack.
granola bars. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Hold off.
Yeah.
Like, strawberry, mixed fruit. Just
Yeah.
yeah, I think I was listening to this Swami Chachidananda the other night, and he said that what a human being is, we're meant to eat fruit. Like our bodies are meant to be like fruitarians. Like we're built like fruit eaters,
Hmm.
and it makes sense because we're just apes, and they, apes eat bananas and fruit and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Apes eat
And
very little meat, man. Like barely any, right? It's
yeah,
like
and they're
insects,
jacked.
basically. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think just how our digestive tract is built, like the length of it,
Yeah.
and how our teeth, we have our teeth aren't really meant for like, they're not like predator teeth.
Hmm.
And they said it's not necessarily like we're not like what's somebody that just eats vegetables? What is that called?
Vegetarian?
Yeah, is that a vegetarian or like an no, not an
Omnivore. Yeah.
omnivore is
Herbivore.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. Omnivore is
So
everything. Omni, all,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
not a
So
duality.
exactly. Yeah. So like I guess biologically we're not really meant to be like herbivores in terms of like just plants,
Hmm.
and we're not meant to be carnivores. They're meant to be like frutivores, fruitarians. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I'm not gonna say I live off of just fruit because that'd be tough, but I
Mhm.
think it makes a lot of sense compared to like how we developed. And if you think about how a fruit is, right? It's the only type of food that is, it's we have a symbiotic relationship with the plant where if we eat their food, it
Mhm.
benefits their proliferation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like everything else, animals and plants, we kill and harvest them when they don't. It doesn't necessarily make their DNA live on longer. But with
Mhm.
fruits, it actually does. It helps us both out. Like we have
Yep.
this weird symbiotic relationship in nature with fruits where, we eat them and we spread the seeds all around. And I was
Right.
like,
Right.
man, when you look at it like that, that makes a lot of sense. It's like the only kind of, and it tastes amazing too. It tastes amazing for a reason. We all love
There's a
fruit.
reason we're addicted to sugar, my man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not necessarily saying we should all just start eating apples all day, but I think if we were to like tie it the closest food to our, like how we evolved, closest
Yep.
to how our biology is, it's
Yeah.
most likely fruit.
Makes the
And
most sense, like you said, right?
yeah,
Apes and stuff, right? They eat bananas and fruit in the jungle and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, makes a
So
lot of sense. But yeah,
yeah.
and they got a lot of vitamins, vitamin C, but
Well, that will
yeah,
keep you healthy as well if you eat a lot of fruit.
yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah.
That's pretty
Nice.
much it, man. That's pretty much my diet. A lot of water. I like to drink tea.
Yeah.
Um,
What about coffee?
No, I don't drink coffee. I gave up coffee for mushrooms actually, which is pretty funny because mushrooms give me a lot of energy. It's like this tincture that I have right here. It's just a
Yeah.
supplement,
Nice.
and I got some pills too that I take, and I got some gummies. I'm all mushroomed out, bro. But
Well,
they,
again, if you're a vegan, I feel like mushrooms would be an important part of your diet.
yeah, for sure. I want to start eating like incorporating them into regular foods because you can do a lot with mushrooms in terms of, no, I'm not talking about psychedelic ones here
No,
for
no, I
anyone
know.
listening. Wait, but you could though. You could take
Yeah.
psychedelic ones and eat them.
Yeah.
But any kind of mushrooms, you could make like a lot of different meals out of them, and they're pretty nutritious for you too, and tasty. I mean, some people hate mushrooms. I really like the taste of them. I think there's so much you can do with them,
Yeah,
and
man.
there's so many different kinds of mushrooms too. Like the button mushrooms that we get at the store, those aren't even the tastiest ones that you can get. Those are just like the easiest ones that you can grow. You know what
We
I
made
mean? Those,
stuffed portobellos the other day, man. Oh, so good. Well,
yeah.
we put cheese in ours.
Well, hey,
Sorry.
man,
Yeah.
it's all
Oh
good.
man, I love mushrooms. Yeah, my kids hate them. It's like, ew, and it's a texture thing. I get it. I
Yeah,
get
they're like
it. I wasn't a
chewy.
huge fan when I was a kid either, I don't think, but I love them now. I love everything. That's the secret to it. A happy, easy life. Just try to love everything, man. The pickier you are, the more you're gonna suffer.
Yeah,
Just
right.
love everything. I love mushroom. I can't think of any food that I dislike. You know, people are like, oh, I don't
Really?
eat that. They're like, gross. I don't eat that. I like everything, and I will try anything.
You
Like,
don't have anything that that you're just like, nope, I'm gonna pass on that.
I mean, there's definitely a hierarchy. Obviously, there's certain things I like more than others. But honestly, like I've had liver, and I was like, that's pretty good. I like liver, liver and
Yeah.
onions, like the worst thing you can imagine. You know, like I don't know, meatloaf. Love meatloaf.
Hmm.
Like I don't. There's literally no like meal that I'm like, ew.
Well, you know what it is too, is there's a lot of I think people's kind of like preconceptions about food just by how
Mm,
they look or by how
yeah,
they smell. Like
yeah,
mushrooms just look weird, so like I don't want to put that in my mouth, you know what I mean? Or
and they're
just
all
the idea
chewy.
of, yeah, the idea of liver, like I don't want to eat something's liver. So I
Rich
think
in
it has a,
nutrients.
yeah, it actually is. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think it's
it's
just some kind of bias to just because just the observation of it. But
yeah,
yeah, when you just
yeah,
kind of
or,
when you can get past that and just see
yeah.
it as like, you know, a form of energy, then it makes a lot more sense to not be picky.
Mhm. In my experience, anyways. But yeah, I mean, there's certain things that are obviously bad for you.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't eat very often. But
Hmm.
do you fast at all? Do you do any of that kind of stuff?
No, I've never been able. I mean, I know I'm able. We're all able to do it, but I
Yeah,
just never have had the I never really felt like doing it. I don't know. I just
yeah.
never thought it would. I felt like people say there's a lot of benefit to it, but it can't be that much benefit. I don't know. I'd rather enjoy my life and eat food
Yeah.
while I can. But
Oh yeah.
I
No,
do like
intermittent fasting
fasting.
isn't like you're
Yeah.
getting the same number of calories. You're just doing it in a smaller window of time, right?
Yeah.
Pushing your
I
body into autophagy or whatever.
yeah. I mean, I probably should do it, but I'm not. I don't have that willpower, and I
You
get the
shouldn't
munchies
do
way too much.
anything, bro. You shouldn't do anything. You should do only the things that you want to do, right?
Yeah,
And obviously
100%.
you haven't been sick in 5 years. I feel like you're probably on the right track. Keep
Well,
doing
this
what
is
you're
what
doing,
happens
sir.
is I get like I can start to feel myself come down with something, and
Hmm.
then one day, 2 days, it goes away. Like it's like my immune system, I'm able to tune into it and just like beat it really fast, which is
Nice.
something that I think every we can all do through yoga and certain breathing exercises. I think we can all do that. But
Yep.
it's like I went through a lot of suffering when I was a kid. Like I got sick a lot, so it's like
Hmm.
almost like I was destined to be able to teach myself to do that because I
You
couldn't
learned a
take it
lot from
anymore.
that, from those illnesses, obviously.
Yeah, where I'm like I don't want to do this anymore. So I had to like teach myself, I guess, in a way, which it was what I didn't even mean to. Like I just learned these breathing exercises and yoga exercises. And then I realized along the way, I'm like, wait a second, I don't really get sick anymore. This is kind of cool. Because I would notice myself, like I said, getting this slight symptoms and then it would go away. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm not the only one. I'm not saying that like this is, you know, I'm the only one that can do
Mhm.
this. There's plenty of
Yeah.
other people that also say the same thing. So
Yeah.
we can all do this. I really believe that we can all get to a point, and maybe in the future we'll be at that where we're more honed into our bodies. We'll get to a point where we're just like, yeah, viruses and bacteria, that's not really like a thing. We don't, you know, if it's almost like a thing of placebo effect too. You know, I think there's a lot of power in belief. And if
Hmm.
you just tell yourself that I have a very strong immune system, I'm healthy, that probably goes a long way too. You
I
know,
think
I
so.
might just be lying to myself and kidding myself that I'm doing all these breathing exercises and just regular exercise and it's keeping me healthy, but it might just be the idea of me keeping myself healthy
It's
that's
probably
actually
both.
keeping me healthy. Yeah,
It's
so
usually both.
whatever.
I'm a non-dualist. It's always both.
Yeah, it's both.
It's a bit of
Whatever
both in
works.
each, right? Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, well, and I think like if you were eating McDonald's every day and smoking cigarettes and drinking lots of beer and all these things again, and still doing the breathing exercises, I imagine probably wouldn't be as healthy as you are, so it's
Yeah,
like the
it's the whole
combination
package.
of, absolutely. And that's what, again, back to what my wife says, mind, body, spirit, man. You got to have all three, and you clearly do. Physically, you exercise, you move, you keep your body nimble, and then you put the right foods in there for you, and everything else, man.
Yeah, it's a learning process though. Like I think this, first of all, I'm still learning what to put in and
Mhm.
what not to put in, and it takes time too. So for anybody that wants to get on this path of self-healing, recognize that it takes time to do this. It's not just like one day you're going to wake up and know what exactly you should put into your body. It's like you treat it, your body as like a science. You treat it as like,
Yeah.
this works. I'll keep this. This doesn't work. I'm not going to do this anymore. Because there was a lot of trial and error in terms
Yep.
of, and it still is a lot of stuff that where I'm like, that didn't make me feel right, or that gave me some stomach problems,
Yep.
or something else that just, I don't know, just, there's stuff that works and stuff that doesn't work. And it takes time to really figure out what's good for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm glad that I'm in a position that I can do that too, because there's a lot of people in the world that they just kind of have to eat whatever they
Whatever's
got,
there.
yeah, and
Yeah,
they got to
man.
drink the village goat's milk. That's it. That's all they got.
Totally, man. We got a lot of privilege to be able to have even this conversation,
Yeah,
not
for
to
sure.
take it there, but it's true, man. Like, you're right. I think a lot of us could achieve what you're describing, boost your immune system, all this stuff, but a lot of people are not in a position to even be able to put the right things in their body, right? As you said. So yeah, but that's part of the freaking imbalance that we got to deal with, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's the entire world, the entire human world. Well, now actually the entire, material world, because we're fucking up the climate. But
Mm-hmm.
the human world itself is like severely out of balance with the way things are, with nature, with ourselves, with our own true nature.
Yep.
And so it's like everything is destruction. Everything is coming. Even when we do things from a good place, it backfires because the foundation is so rotten. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know why? I think the foundation is because there's way too many people here. There's way too much input. There's way too much us just sucking this world dry of everything. And there's
Mm-hmm.
like we should be at a point of what's the opposite of scarcity? Abundance. We should be
Absolutely.
at a point of abundance, but I
Yep.
think we can't be because there's just too many people. I looked up today actually how many people are born in a day on Earth. Take a guess.
43,000.
350,000 people.
Holy shit. I was way
Or
low. Yeah.
345, something like that. If
Yeah.
so, when you
Wow.
wake up every morning, there's 350,000
Mm.
new points of consciousness that have
But
came up.
how many people be dying every day?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, I'm gonna look that one up right now.
Because if 500,000 are dying every day, we're shrinking.
Well,
you
we
know.
had a yeah. So we had a yeah. Is our population? No, it's only growing.
There's a lot of places in the world where it's actually taken a turn in the reverse, and they're
Yeah,
projecting like steep declines in population over the next 10 to 15 years. But again, what do I know? These are
I'm on
just fucking stats.
worldometer.com. You ever been on here?
No.
Hold on, I'm gonna share the screen.
Do it. Yeah, I'd be interested to know. I disagree with you, sir. I think in the current system that we have and the current narrative that we're living under, 100% we're overpopulated. That's why all the billionaires want to go out into space and leave us here to die, because they think there's too many of us. But the problem isn't that there's too many of us. There's standing room only in Texas for the entire world population. The entire population of the planet can
Mm.
fit in Texas, standing room only. There's fucking plenty of room and resources and everything to go around. We can have abundance for a lot more people. We have a lot of room, man. We can make it work.
Yeah, we got the
But
room. It's just that we're all just like
we got the resources, we got everything. It's just not being managed
yeah,
well. It's
yeah.
being managed by a handful of people for their interests, and it's slowly starving and killing everybody else. So it's, yeah, if you're Bill Gates, the world is overpopulated, because I don't want to have to part with any of my wealth
Mm.
and
Greed,
any of my
man.
resources. So that means, yeah, there's too many of you, right? But it's like, no, it's not your fucking choice, Billy.
All right.
If you want to continue to live this lavish lifestyle, you're going to have to give up a lot more to
That's
make
what
it
it is,
work.
man. We got to give up. We got too much inequality
Dude,
and
we
too
all
many
got to
people
give up.
taking.
Yeah, man. Everybody's got too much.
Oh, look
And the
at that
thing is,
cigarette smoke today. That's insane.
yeah,
That's going on right now. Everyone just all those numbers going up. It's just every person just taking a puff right now. as we're speaking.
That's one substance that I've never tried. Never taken a puff of a cigarette in my
Really?
entire life. Yeah, never tried it. Never had a desire to.
Money
And
spent on illegal drugs. It's
yeah,
crazy. How
but
do you know
I
that?
made up for it with many other substances. So that's not, it's not like I'm better than anybody. I'm just glad that I never got into that one because yeah, what a gross substance in my personal experience.
I've taken
Being
like
my
two
parents are
puffs.
smokers.
Oh yeah, my mom
They
is
were.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been doing it her whole life. It's definitely it like definitely takes a hold of your brain.
Hmm.
I've heard that the withdrawals are stronger than like opiate withdrawals. I don't know if that's true or
Apparently.
not, but
Apparently. Yeah.
I believe it. It
Oh,
just
I
takes
do
over
too.
your brain.
Yeah, I've seen people struggle a lot with it. So yeah, and again, like struggling with something, that's rad,
Mm.
struggling to quit a rad addiction, at least it's like, well, at least I had a good time. Smoking cigarettes, it's like you didn't have any good times from smoking cigarettes. You just got like coughing and you stank.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
like if I have, I don't know, meth or something, like, well, at least there was some crazy epic time somewhere in there, guaranteed if you were doing meth.
Yeah, right. I
I'm
guess.
guessing, I don't know, I've never done it, but like at least you're beating an addiction that was like worthwhile. Whereas cigarettes, it's like you spent a lot of money and slowly poisoned yourself. Like,
Yeah, like you're not getting anything out of it other than making yourself not feel like shit for not smoking. Because
yeah, it's a circular
say
thing,
you don't
isn't it?
smoke, they start to shake and they get
Oh
angry.
yeah, I can't
When
imagine.
it's like you put yourself at a negative, like you put yourself at a negative, and then you get the cigarette in order to get to some kind of normalcy.
That's right.
But
Yeah, yeah, it
with
makes
other
you feel
drugs,
shitty without it.
yeah, but other drugs, at least you get some kind of
Makes
experience
you
out of it.
feel, yeah, you get a high or something, right? Or
Yeah,
numb or what, I don't know. Yeah, just never got the appeal of that one. But
I don't
it's
know.
expensive too, isn't it? Like you fucking people spend an arm and a leg.
Yeah, right. That's how you know it's a sickness because you're spending so much money on this thing just to make it so you don't feel like shit. I don't know.
Yeah, there must
It's
be a
tough.
rush. There must be. I mean, I've asked people who are smokers and they get a little something something out of it.
Oh, there is definitely, especially if you don't smoke cigarettes and then you smoke like sometimes I smoke a blunt and then that's tobacco and you
Okay.
get a head rush, but it can't be. But it's pretty intense too, especially if you don't smoke.
All right.
But uh, I can imagine if you smoke every day, you probably don't get that. Maybe like a little bit, you get that little taste
Tiny.
of it,
Yeah.
but it can't be like it's probably like first time it's probably like whoa. There's definitely something. There's definitely something. We're not gonna say there's nothing, but I think if you're smoking like a pack, 2 packs a day, you're probably not getting that every time. It's just so you don't feel like shit.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't sound like a good investment to me. I'll have other
Nah.
vices.
Yeah, I'm
Like
all set with
coffee's kind
that.
of like that for me too. When I first started drinking coffee, I must have been like 18 or 19. And I remember getting like sweats from it. I got very altered, like not like, obviously out of control, but like I was buzzed. I was like,
From
holy
drinking it, yeah.
shit. Oh yeah. I was like,
Hmm.
this is awesome. I was hooked
Yeah.
right there. But now it doesn't do that. I don't get sweats from it. I feel totally normal. It's not like it gives me a little bit more like clarity, maybe, but again, could be placebo. Like I just
Yeah.
love coffee now. Drink it black. It's delicious.
Yeah. Well, at
Um,
least it's kind of healthy for you, I think.
well, without cream and sugar, I think it is. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and again, with fasting, it's like, it just promotes the autophagy. So, and it doesn't break my fast and it makes me not as hungry in the morning. So I can go
Mm.
16 hours or whatever. But yeah, anyways, it's, when I first started drinking it, I remember it's like chasing the dragon. You keep expecting that, and then it just kind of stops and it becomes like maintenance. Like I need to
Mm.
have my cup of coffee now.
That seems to be the story of humans, man. Like we're always, whether it's a drug or a person or a TV show or a video game, we always just we form habits with things.
Yeah.
But especially form habits with when it's some kind of like literal chemical. I mean, it's all
Mhm.
chemicals, but when you literally have like a chemical you're putting into your body as a
Yes.
drug,
Yeah.
that's when it gets really, really habit forming. But either way, like we all have our vices and addictions. There's something that we always cling to, I guess, day to day. And that's the story of humanity, man. That's the story
Yeah.
of Buddhism, like no attachments. We're meant to like, I guess it doesn't mean you can't indulge in things like that, but I guess it's about not not expecting any of those vices per se to make you happy. Like you can
That's
like
right.
say if I never could smoke weed again in my life, I'd be all right with it. I'd be
Mhm.
fine. But like it would suck, but I would be fine with it. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't like hate my life or want to punch people. And I
Right.
think that's kind of the way to go for anything. any
Yeah.
other vice you have in your life. Like if I had to stop, I don't know, I'm trying to think what else I do. I eat a lot of fruit, I say. We'll say fruit, I guess. I like apples. So whenever, if I couldn't eat apples again, I'd be like, oh, that sucks. You know, I have like a habit forming with apples. I like to eat one a day.
Yeah.
But if I couldn't do it again for some whatever reason, if the doctor told me you got to stop eating apples, which would be ironic, if they told me that I had to stop eating apples,
It's
then
deadly.
yeah, I'd be like, okay, whatever. It's on to the next thing. You know, I think I don't know, man. It's like the human mind clings so easy to things. We get so attracted to something that we think brings us some kind of comfort, you know, because when I imagine when people take the cigarette smoke, the weed smoke, the apple bite, whatever it is, you're hanging out with somebody you love, you know, you hug somebody, you look into their eyes, whatever it is, you're watching a good show that you watch once a week, whatever it is, we all have our things that, you know, bring us into some kind of habit. It brings
Mhm.
us, I think, ultimately to a sense of comfort or maybe normalcy. We may say a sense of normalcy. And that's kind of what we all want. I think in we all yearn for some kind of like, it's okay. Now it's
All
okay.
is well. Yeah.
Yeah. Before it wasn't okay. Before I had this experience, it wasn't, but now it's okay.
Yeah. We're good.
Until it move, you know, until it goes away, and then we're like, oh, I need to get fulfilled the next vice, you know, because it just keeps going and
Yeah.
going. And I think if you recognize that it just keeps going, and no matter what, the human mind is never going to reach a point where we're
Where it's satisfied.
100% satisfied. Yeah, it's like you have to fit the being recognizing that you're never going to be 100% satisfied is the path to be 100% satisfied, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
100%. 100%, man. Yeah. And I was going to say, it all has to do with adaptation. You're talking about the human condition, right? Seeking that next thing. And it's like, it's because we get used to things so well. So we're so good at it. So it's like you get this little high and you like it. But then the next time it's not quite the same, right? Because it's like you're already adapting to it. You're forming this habit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think, you know, what you said about indulging without attachment, that's exactly what the Buddha said. He didn't say like no desires. He said detach from your desires. You can't have life without desire. Your body, it's biological, man. It's part of the drive to survive.
Yeah.
You have desires, you feel hunger, you have these cravings for things. Some of them are necessary, and if you don't fulfill them, you're going to die. And other ones, if you don't fulfill them, maybe depending on the type of person you are, maybe you're going to be miserable, maybe you're going to be really grouchy, maybe you're going to be solid, you know, I didn't get this, whatever, right? But it's like your mental health is going to be impacted by that. And so if you take those indulgences or those things when you can get them and appreciate them and are grateful for them, but then when you don't get them, you're like, nah, whatever, you're indifferent, like you said,
Yeah.
right? I can't have weed anymore. Damn, that sucks. I really like weed. Moving on, right?
Yeah.
Gonna go do some yoga, gonna go for a hike, can do, just live your life, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where we need to get to, because then it's like you can still have desires and goals and drives and all that thing. You just have to be detached from them and from the outcomes, especially.
Exactly.
Like you can pursue this thing, but whether you get it or not is not up to you. And if you don't get it, you got to be ready to say, nah, tough, and then carry on, right? Don't let it fucking disturb you.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, but it's just hard because we get, like you said, sucked into it, right?
Yeah. That's the path. That's the spiritual path.
Yeah. Walking the fine line between the two worlds, you know,
Mm-hmm.
walking with one foot in each. I think for me, that's what I've been trying to achieve, is to find, like, again, that balance between the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, the hedonism, and then also the discipline. And I'm starting to finally move into more of the discipline, because for the last 7 or 8 years, I was more about the hedonism and enjoying things because I can. And it, like you said, exactly like you said, I've said the exact same thing to my wife. If I have to quit cannabis tomorrow, I will. No fucking problem.
Yeah.
But while I can still consume it, I'm going to, because I fucking like it.
Yeah. Like, why not?
And then for me, again, it's a form of medicine. Like, honestly, it opens up doorways within myself that, for whatever reason, again, because I'm lazy, because I'm busy with life, I just don't have time to do it in different ways, or I don't have the ability to do it in different ways. But as soon as I tap into that medicine, it's like the doors open and it's like, you know, like the messages come through. I remember what's important, and it carries on into my sober life.
Exactly.
Like the next day, that those experiences and those messages that I get that are like, dude, Stop worrying about this. Focus on the shit that you know is important. The next day it carries through. So for me, it's like, yeah, I'm going to indulge while I can,
Yeah, exactly.
but how much do I need to indulge? Now those are the
Mm,
questions that I'm now weighing and considering and being more disciplined with, because it's like, if I'm more disciplined with it, it gives it more significance. Right.
for
And I
sure.
think the boys, man, Rory and Ryan kind of helped me see that with their Sunday ritual. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to do it once a week only in this one setting. Definitely not. That's not the plan. But that approach, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, I just need to like scale back and make it more significant and give those occasions more, yeah, more significance, more importance, make them more ritualized
Yeah.
instead of like, I get off work. Oh, it's time. Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to do it multiple times a day. I can just do it one. So it's not giving it up. It's just finding the right relationship with it that that's where I'm at now.
For sure, dude. And that's not even really indulging. I mean, we compared, hold on, compared marijuana to like, coffee and tobacco and television, but it's not even in the same category if you use it in that way. Because if you're using it in that way, you're using it to better your life and using it as a teacher. Like, you're not using it to indulge in anything, to really escape. If anything, you're using it for the opposite way. You're using it to
Enhance.
enhance, to go in
Yeah.
and use it as like a medicine, like you said.
Mhm.
And that's the way to go. That's the way to use those things. It's not really, you're not looking to at it as a something so you don't feel like shit, something
No,
so you don't get the shakes. It's like something to help you.
what I will say though is that even too much medicine can be a bad thing. That's where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, that's that barometer or that line where it's like, okay, that's too much. I need to scale back. That's going to be different for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on your lifestyle, depending on your everything, right? But yeah, I just feel like right now what I haven't been doing one of the like last few things that I know for a fact I need to do with myself and with my life is to instill more discipline, especially around those types of things.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at now. Those are the messages that I've been getting from the great teacher. God bless her. And yeah, anyways, so it's been an interesting last few months because I've been kind of working through some of this stuff, and alcohol is another thing for me that I enjoy quite a lot, beer especially.
Mm.
So again, not quitting anything because I'm not in a destructive pattern. I'm not doing anything bad, but I realize that I need to be more disciplined, just in general, right? So
Mm.
just trying to get a handle on those things.
Well, at least you recognize it.
100%. I mean,
Because we
I
all
can
need a little
see,
discipline.
yeah, yeah, and it's like in the Tao Te Ching, he says the sage doesn't encounter problems because he addresses problems when they arise, and I'm
Mm.
trying to address things before they become problems, right? Because it's like I can see how they could, and even if they don't and they aren't the kind of person I want to be and the person that I am now, there's a disalignment there, and until I get more discipline in my life, I'm not going to feel like I'm living up to my full potential, basically.
Yeah.
So that's part of the motivation as well. It's not like people are telling me you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like I'm coming to these conclusions by myself from journaling and meditating and being honest with myself as much as possible. So yeah,
That's
it's
the only way to
interesting.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I feel really good about it because like I'm sure I'm going to uncover lots of other things with myself that I feel that I realize I need to change, in the future. But like the big ticket items, I feel like I'm dealing with them pretty well, and it feels good, when you finally acknowledge and address something, you feel like relief, like a weight off your shoulders, whatever, clear conscience, right? You're not like internally grappling with it anymore. So
For sure.
yeah, feels good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're already miles ahead of everybody else just on that wavelength. Not that this is a competition, but just not having the idea in your head that, you got to change. You got something to change. I'm
Yeah.
not, you're not changed now. You're not there yet, but you'll get there someday. That's the attitude to have. And that's what we can all have is that, with change, like I said before, dude, change doesn't come overnight. You have to first recognize what you want to change in yourself, which that takes time in and of itself. And
Yep.
then from there, you make the steps to make that change. And that is probably a little bit of a bumpy road too. Like you're going to mess up.
Yep.
There's going to be setbacks, but as long as you get back on the saddle and keep on riding, keep on going, then that's the wave. That's the way that you have to live your
Yeah.
life if you truly want to grow. and don't quit, because I think a lot of people, not judging, just, speaking from experience and speaking from observations, a lot of people, they set out with these goals, and then they get one or two setbacks, and that's it, and they go right back onto the life that they were living. So as long as
Yeah.
you have a goal and you stay disciplined in your goals,
Yeah.
even though which is because your goal is to get more disciplined, so you have to stay disciplined in being disciplined, right? So you have to stay, I guess, keep your head on straight in
Uh-huh.
terms of building your own discipline, and recognize that this is the right path for yourself, and that's it. You just keep going. And then,
It's interesting though. In this particular case, I feel like just fully acknowledging it takes the difficulty away. Like if I'm like, okay, listen, I'm doing too much of it. I agree with this. I need to change it. As soon as I decide I need to change it, it's not actually that hard to change it. It's everything leading up to that process. First of all, figuring out that you need to change. Second of all, like you said, identifying what particular is the problem, because what you think is the problem could just be a symptom, right? And so you kind of got to do a little bit of digging to see like, well, what's really going on here? Because if it's addiction, well, what's driving the addiction, right? Because if I just quit something, that's not fixing the underlying issue, right? The addiction is a symptom or a manifestation, right? So
yeah,
that whole process of like debating with yourself and trying to like, figure out and be truthful and like really ask yourself hard questions. And then once you get to that moment of realization where it's like, okay, this is what I need to do, I just know it now. Doing it for me isn't that hard, but yeah, everybody's going to be different, I guess. But once you accept in yourself, like you feel it, like with great, like embodied certainty, not like intellectualizing it, but like, you're like, yes, this is the right path. It's not that hard to walk it once you fully are on board with yourself. You know what I mean?
for sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. Hardest part is starting,
Yes.
like getting on
Even
that wavelength.
exposing that problem, even acknowledging it sometimes. I mean, for me, it was like, just put that away. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to think about it. And it took a while to, work myself into a position where I had to look at it and be more honest with myself. So,
Yeah.
but that again, paradoxically, the way that I was able to get there gradually was with medicine, with not the kind that you get from the doctor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
I had to, take some journeys, right?
The earth's medicine.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of science involved as well, but regardless, I've had to do some work that way. And it's like, that stuff exposes things where you can't really deny it anymore. Right.
Yeah,
You
for
can't
sure.
like lie to yourself about it anymore. It's like, oh, fuck. I guess I got to do something about this now.
Yeah, right. That is crazy. I mean, that's why they're so beneficial, because they show you things that you don't necessarily want to see. Like there's something in your brain that will shoo it away, but if you
Mhm.
take, massive amounts of any kind of hallucinogen, psychedelic, it will bring it to the forefront of your mind and show you that like this is something that you got to work on, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that's their powerful tools in that way. I mean, there's also a lot of different uses for them, but in terms
Mhm.
of personal growth, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Like
man.
it'll shed light on things that are inside of you, and you'll be able to work on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And on
Yeah. And
top of that,
it was
go ahead.
gentle. It wasn't like, some people in ayahuasca have talked about it, how it can be pretty harsh. But for me, it was like the great teacher came down and took me by the hand, and over the course of 6 months at regular intervals was like, all right, now let's talk about this. You ready? Okay, now let's go to the next one. And then it was like leading me step by step to this kind of like final conclusion, which was like, okay, a couple things, but yeah, you know what I mean? So it was nice because yeah, I don't necessarily want to white knuckle it anymore, you know?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know about these ayahuasca ceremonies. I don't know if that's in my future, to be honest.
Yeah, me either. Have you ever done it?
No.
No.
And I wanted to for a while, and then I met people who've done it, and I've talked to some people. Like I had a guy on my podcast, Kai. He used to like facilitate ceremonies and close to where I live. And yeah, just based on all of those kind of testimonies, I'm like, nah. I found my secret recipe for
Hmm.
the psychedelic experience. It works for me. I've seen it work for other people. It's
Hmm.
got a good track record. I don't think you can ever I have not seen it fail yet. And
Hmm.
and it's way gentler, man. It's so much nicer than
Yeah.
fucking geometric shapes. And
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. I want to do some deep work, but I don't want to go that deep.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm into just chilling by myself. Like I'm able to like go through that stuff and meditate
Yeah.
and I can navigate my own mind and don't really need to talk to Mother Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
if anything, I can do that. Like I can tap into that great teacher that you said. I can do
Yeah.
that on the regular if I really want to. I could
Oh
just
yeah.
go and meditate for, a lengthy amount of time and you can get to those certain headspaces. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go through like a DMT trip like people do on ayahuasca, and go through and live your past lives and
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
these very eccentric visions. But what I'm trying to say, if you're trying to use it for personal growth, you can do that without going through the ecstatic visions and having to shit yourself and throw up in front of 15 people and have a shaman going,
Doom, 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 doom.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to go through that, which I'm not knocking it. I'm not talking
Yeah.
shit at all about it because I know I've talked to plenty of people that have benefited from it. But to me, I'm just like, that's not my vibe, man. I like to just, I'll eat a few mushrooms, smoke a little bit of weed by myself and maybe a few friends. And, I can just go meditate for a little bit, hang out, and we'll be good. I don't really need to do that. But it's cool that it is a thing and other people are gaining so much from it. And, it is a sacred plant. But it's cool to know that it's also not probably in my future either. I mean, maybe, who knows? I'm still young, but I'm
Mhm.
just kind of like, I don't think I need that. Like, I don't think it doesn't seem like appealing, Like, I feel like if I'm tripping balls and then I got somebody else on the other side of the room from me and they're just throwing up violently and then somebody else shits their pants on the other side of me and then I start throwing up and shitting my pants, I'm like, that's not fun to me. There's other ways to go about this, Like you said, there's a lot easier routes to go about the
Yeah.
psychedelic experience and grow and learn. I'm just like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
man.
It's a little too extreme. But like I said, I'm not knocking it. This is just my personal preference.
I'm in the
This is
same
just,
boat as you, man.
I don't know.
Couldn't
What's
have
wrong
said
with
it
a
better
little
myself.
bit? I don't know, man.
Pooping and puking, and yeah, that's gonna kill your. They always talk about set and setting. Think about that set and
Yeah.
setting for you. A circle of people defecating in themselves and puking, and some
In the
shaman
middle of the
drumming, blowing
Amazon.
totobacco smoke in your face. Yeah, there's
Yeah, with
panthers
the
and
I think
snakes
what's it called?
outside.
It's called Rapa, a Rapo, where they put it in your nose and they go and it goes up your nose and then you can't even
Oh,
breathe. It's like I don't.
no
I
thanks.
watch a lot of videos of people doing like ayahuasca and they go to the Amazon and stuff like that. And like I'm
Hmm.
just so intrigued because I've tried to picture myself in that and I'd be like, nah, bro, I'm out. I'm not going through this. I'm gonna go home where it's comfortable and I'll just eat some mushrooms. I'm all right. Like I don't need to go through this right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, well, the other thing, like the other compelling argument that I've heard from this Kai guy as well, he was saying like, this stuff came up in a different culture. It's like embedded. It's not embedded in Western European, people of European descent. You have no historical biological relationship with this substance.
That's true.
it
Yeah.
it like evolved in a totally different world, and like you're describing some of the rituals with the tobacco up the nose, which sounds fucking terrible, but yeah, like there's a whole culture that goes along with it, and as somebody who's not from that culture, who has no real deep connection to it, it's like why would I want to go? It would be, I guess it would be kind of interesting, but it doesn't sound like, yeah, this just doesn't appeal to me. And like you said, maybe I would be more inclined if I hadn't found other things that could do it um, more effectively, in my opinion, because it's like there's no bullshit. Like you were talking about going past into the past and living past lives.
Hmm.
What's the value in that from a spiritual growth perspective? Nothing. It's cool. It's like, whoa, you won't believe what I saw when I was on my ayahuasca journey. And it's like, yeah, but like what? So you can get the real goods distilled in a way that is just like, oh, clear as day. It's like, ring, ring, ring. Great teacher speaking. Here's a message for you in your own voice, written by your own hand from me. Read this every fucking day, bro, and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Click that. Like you can get that. Why would you go
Yeah.
for ayahuasca ceremony with, like you said, puking and shit in your
It's too
pants?
much. It's too much. I think we're all just
Puking.
chasing the experience and it's become almost like a tourism thing at this
That's
point.
that's what I hear as well. Yeah, it becomes like a badge of honor for some people. I think some people get a lot out of it. I know a guy who's done a lot of ceremonies actually, and he may still want to do it. He wants to become like a facilitator for these types of experiences. But He's done tons of them, and he just says he speaks very highly of the process. He doesn't speak of it like an entertainment thing at all. For him, it's like, oh yeah, that last one was rough, but I got a lot out of it, So I think for some people it is genuine, but yeah, I think there's an element of adventure tourism,
Hmm.
and bragging rights. Oh, I've done 18 ceremonies. It's like, okay,
I
what
mean,
have
how
you
many
gotten
times do
out
you
of
have to
them?
do it? How many times do
Well,
we have to do this stuff? That's what I want to know too. It's like I was at a point too where I was just chasing experiences, especially with mushrooms. I would take large amounts and I would go through very mystical experiences and have visions and, feel things that I never felt before. Definitely I had that, but
mhm,
that's in the past. Like I know that that's a thing. I've had that. I recognize how important it was at the time. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't chase that anymore. And
right.
same thing with cannabis. I don't chase to get like extremely high on cannabis or both cannabis and mushrooms. I just use them to further my being here in life because life is the experience.
Mhm.
Once you realize that, I think you transcend the experiences of these ecstatic, spiritual, mystical states. And then you realize, like, wait a second, it's just trying to show me that the life I'm living now is the experience. And if you
Yeah.
can use these things, I think the next step is you use those to further this experience and integrate them in this experience. That's how, at least for my life, that's how I want to use them. I don't care about going and talking to God for a little bit. It's like that's cool. Like I recognize because that's kind of what these things show me is that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. There's some kind of plan. There's some kind of order. There's a greater intelligence than I could ever perceive. Right.
Hmm.
I recognize that. That's cool. I cherish that moment. I cherish that connection that I always have. I don't need to go through that again. That's fine. It taught me. I
Yeah.
got the message. I hung up the phone. So now, using these things at smaller doses, you don't necessarily um, have those experiences. Like if you just smoke one or two puffs, not that I do, I smoke a decent amount, but if you just smoke one or two puffs, or you just eat one or two little mushrooms, or even other substances as well, uh, you're going to find that it's like a mental enhancement. It gives you like superpowers. Like I said, there are things that it'll just make it so that it makes this experience, this life, this incarnation in the 3D realm that we're living right now, it makes it a little bit easier to navigate, I guess you could say. And if you're just chasing the experience, taking like 12 grams of mushrooms every Saturday, which I imagine people do. There's people that take massive amounts to just chase these
Wow.
experiences, talk to the entities, which is cool. That's awesome. I think
Yeah.
everybody should be able to have the ability to do that and the freedom to do that. That's amazing. I think that's awesome. I would love to speak to people that do that because first of all, I don't chase that. I don't want to chase that because I think there's other uses to them. And the way that I see it is I can use them to further my life here and now as in this body as Gary Haskins and whatever else is going on behind the scenes. I'll worry about that after I die. It'll come to me eventually, this I don't have to worry about that now. As long as I got the message because I think these things are trying to tell us a message. Like if there's a great teacher that you can call up, right? They're trying to teach you something. But if you go to the classroom and you don't get the message, and you're just chasing going to the classroom, then what's the point? You gotta like I went to the classroom, I got the lesson, and now I came back and I graduated into this life, almost
Yeah.
like that
Yeah. Yeah.
rebirth process. That's
Yeah.
kind of the point. And we're missing that point. Like
Yeah.
psychedelics are becoming ever as so popular nowadays and almost becoming, like we said, almost like pop culture in a way, which is great. I think they should be because they're amazing and they can help us. But I think we have to look at them in a way that with respect and reverence and realize what they are, and that's they're teachers
Hmm.
and not really something that we should chase the experience of. It's not something that we should just like do for fun. Um, and if you really want to use them to your advantage to further your life here, to enhance, I guess, your life here, you could say, to just make yourself a little bit more peaceful, a little bit happier. You can do that. You totally can. But if you're just chasing if you're just chasing the dragons and the mystical visions and the shapes and trying to talk to dead people, that's not gonna work. it's just not, you're just going to keep chasing that. It's just going to
Yeah.
become another vice, like we talked about, which
Yeah.
is
Distraction.
distraction, escape, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many times where I catch myself pining for something, where it's like, oh, what am I going to do tonight that's going to make me feel better about working all day, or you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
just have
yeah.
these like moments,
We all have
and
it.
I always remind myself, it's like, if you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy tonight. You know, if
Mm.
you're not happy with what's in front of you right now, it's not going to be any better later tonight when you're watching a show or whatever. So it's like, get right with what's in front of you, man. There is nothing else. And you can learn all these amazing things during these psychedelic experiences. But like you said, eventually you got to come back to your home.
We all come
Where's
back.
that? Here and now. The only fucking place and time you will ever experience that you've ever experienced, this place here, where you are, this moment right now. That's it. So if you're going off on far out adventures and psychedelic journeys, that's awesome. What are you bringing back home to the here and now? Because if you're not bringing anything home, those are just escapes, like you were saying, distractions, right? So I agree. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with distraction. There's nothing wrong with escaping every once in a while. But if you're doing that every weekend, I mean, and not bringing anything back,
I think
what's,
it could be destructive.
it probably can. Yeah, I imagine it. Not as destructive as other substances, I'm
Oh
sure. But
no.
yeah, somebody who's constantly, yeah, every weekend, can you imagine? And again, maybe that's another reason I don't want to do ayahuasca, because it's like, when the fuck am I going to do ayahuasca? My kids are home. I got 3 of them. I got my wife, like I got a full-time job. Like, so that's not like, I don't have time to fast and go on a weekend retreat for none of that shit. But yeah, I mean, I guess, people who do that, I mean, teach their own, right? If you're going out and doing psychedelic tourism, as we can call it,
Hmm.
just going out on adventures just for the shits and giggles, there's still a better likelihood that that person is going to break through by accident and have a real transformative experience,
Exactly.
right?
And actually,
They're in the arena, they're in the playing field.
yeah.
Shit's going to happen. It's going to have an impact. Eventually some door's going to open and they're going to be like, holy fuck. And then maybe they'll be like you, where they're like, I don't need to do this every weekend anymore. I can just take moderate doses or just do it every once in a while, or whatever, fall into a kind of more
Hmm.
reasonable stance on it. But
Yeah, I think using them in that way and trying, if you do get this quote unquote breakthrough experience, you have to set the basis or foundation for yourself in your own life first. Because I was using them as a psychedelic tourism thing, and then I started to get into meditation and yoga a lot more. And then I think it allowed me to go through the breakthrough experiences because of the foundation that I laid for myself. So I think, yeah, there's definitely a good chance. Obviously, it can help somebody, and they just one trip, all of a sudden, they just become a changed person. But I think if you're just not doing the work yourself in your own life, it's just going to be another experience. I know plenty of people that just use it for experience.
Well, Gary, did you, before you started doing yoga and meditation, do you think you would have gotten into those things if you hadn't been doing psychedelics right before?
It's a good point. Well, what it was I was always into that kind of lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
but then I upped it. Like I started to up it and get more serious. So I think they definitely did coincide for sure. Like, yeah, they definitely play a part. But I think that's what we all have to do is use them to coincide with each other. I think these things
Yep.
are just like yogic medicines. Where
Mm-hmm.
one enhances our, because that's what I kind of got from doing the psychedelics is realize I'm like, wait, I can just do this. I wonder if I can just do this on the reg. I wonder if I can just make this
Totally.
myself
Yeah.
feel this good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. My friend Cressa does it all the time, man. She gets high off her own supply, man. I've seen it. It's crazy.
yeah, it's
You
pretty
can do
cool.
it. You don't need any substance. You are the substance, right? What was that? Salvador Dali? I don't do drugs. I am drugs. And
We
it's
are.
true. Yeah, man. You take a hit of that joint, there's a chemical release in your brain. Some of that is you making yourself high. It's not just cannabis.
Yeah.
It's a concert, right? It's a chain reaction. So yeah, no, it's interesting talking about this stuff with you, man, because it's rare that you meet somebody that's kind of, again, I see you doing kind of the same thing, mind, body, spirit, man. You're trying to find that balance and not be extreme in any one of the areas, but trying to be well-rounded, trying to live from your center. And that's, man, it's so rare. It's so
Yeah.
fucking rare these days.
Yeah. That is very rare, man. But we're gonna reach a point, I think, where it's gonna be more, there's gonna be more people on that wavelength because they're gonna have to be on that wavelength. Because if you're not on that wavelength of trying to find the center per se in yourself, trying to find some kind of semblance of peace, not from the outside, from the inside,
Yep.
you're gonna go crazy. And that's kind of what's happening right now as we're speaking. Like there's many, many people all over the world that just they're looking for something outside of them, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's a new TikTok video, whether it's something online, another person trying to tell them that it's gonna be all right. They're looking for
Yeah.
some kind of like,
You're
oh yeah,
cool. You're
yeah, you're
cool. You're
cool.
successful.
You're
Here's a
doing the
thumbs
right
up.
thing.
Yeah.
Well,
And it
no,
feels
that's
good, man. That shit feels good. I mean, as a YouTuber, like you probably get some little dopamine hit when you see like one of your videos hit like high numbers, whatever that means for you. I don't keep track of your stats or anything, but you know what I mean? Like I've had certain videos on my channel where it's like, holy shit, 1,000 people have seen this.
mhm.
Right. So I can see the appeal. I can see how it can get people hooked. But yeah, I don't know, man. Again, I'd like to think that it wouldn't affect me. I'd like to think that even if I got huge in some way, like popular, whatever, it wouldn't change me. But there's only one way to find out.
Yeah. It's just that don't become attached to if it does or it doesn't. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm doing this either way. People are gonna watch it or not. Like if I have videos. I've been viral like 3 times, dude. Like there
Nice.
was one time I have videos on my channel that I don't that this is from years ago that I don't that they're on what's it called?
Unlisted.
Unlisted. Yeah, that I just took off because they're not related to what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But there was one point. All right, I'll tell this story. So I was actually thinking about making a video about this. So first of all, this is me going off on a tangent. I think first of all, I'd just like to say the basis of it is don't be attached to the outcome. Like I don't care if people. I know people probably aren't going to watch this. That many people probably aren't going to listen to this too much. I don't really care. I'm just kind of doing
Mhm.
this for fun.
Yeah.
Um, but if they do, that's cool. I appreciate it and I welcome everybody into this. You
Well,
know.
that's what we were talking about earlier, right? Detachment from your
Hmm.
desires, right? You might have a preference, but if you don't get your preference, it's not going to affect you because you're not that
Yeah.
attached to it. It's just like, I'm
Yeah,
open.
so I want to save that story that I was gonna
Okay.
say, save
Oh
that, keep
yeah.
that in the back. So, because the thread we're on right now is that we're all looking for some kind of validation, right?
Right.
Um, it's that if we're seeking that continually, and we live in a world where we're moving more and more into that, where especially young kids, we're being conditioned to like seek that validation from the outside world. We're moving more and more into that world where it's never gonna first of all it's never gonna happen. You're like that validation is just like another vice. It's another
Mhm.
thing where you
As soon
just
as you
gonna
get it, you're going to need more of it,
you're gonna need
or,
more of
or,
it.
or
Exactly.
another hit of it. Right. Next
Hmm.
post, next video needs to get to 1 million views, or whatever.
Yeah. So I think hopefully we're moving to a world where people will realize that and they have no other choice than to get the validation from inside of yourself, you know? I think we're moving slowly and slowly because there's not going to have a choice. Like I said, there's not going to be any other way. Like it's just going to reach a point where people are going to be like, I can't do this anymore. I can't just keep scrolling. I can't just
Happens every
keep,
day, man. I'm sure it's happening to people every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the world. I think we're just going to, because if not, then you're just going to keep suffering. You're just going to
Mhm.
keep going through this hamster wheel. But once we realize that we really don't need any validation, like like I said, I'm doing this. I realized that I don't need clout. Like I don't need anybody to view this. I'm just literally doing this because I'm having fun. I
Mhm.
like talking to people like you. And
Yeah.
because of that, it's like I'm not attached to whoever comments, whoever likes or doesn't like it. It's just lost in the process. And that's true happiness, you know? Because it doesn't have to be in terms of YouTube videos or anything online. Like whatever we're doing, you do for yourself. You don't do it for other people. I'm not looking for any kind of external validation from anybody else. You just
Mhm.
do what really speaks to you. Like
Yeah.
it could be painting a picture, it could be making music, it could be writing a book, it could be cooking food, could be going for a jog, whatever it is. I mean, it could be all those things, but whatever we do as a human being in terms of our creation, in terms of like how we use our energy, it's just that don't expect anything, or maybe not don't expect anything. It's like don't rely on what you want to get out of it. You just get lost in the process of doing it. And
Yeah.
then almost like ironically, because of that, those are like the most successful projects is people that are just doing this stuff just because they're not relying on who's if they said this or they said that or what did they say about my drawing or whatever your
Yeah.
work is. or your food, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You just get lost in the process, then eventually you're going to get good at it, and you're just going to do it enough, and people will see that you're authentic in your own being, and it'll just work ironically. And then I think you'll just reach a point, like say, our videos did get millions of views. That wouldn't even matter to me. Like if I had millions of people listening to this right now, it'd be the same as if I had two people listening to this right now, because
That's
I'm
what I'd
like I
like to
said,
think, but how do you know until it happens, right? I mean, that's what I'd like to think too, but I'm sure a lot of famous people think that, and then they make it big and they become, you know, they become compromised, if you
yeah,
will. So I believe you, man. I think you're a genuine person. I believe myself too when I think like you wouldn't change me, wouldn't make a difference, right? I just do it for its own sake. Like you said, do everything for yourself. Kind of the same thing, right? If I'm doing something, I'm doing it for its own sake, not for an ulterior motive. So
hmm,
if I'm helping somebody, I'm helping somebody to help them because it's the right thing to do, and I just want to do that, right? I don't care if they recognize that I helped them. I don't care if they thank me. I don't care if people notice and they're like, "Oh, Oliver's such a generous guy." Like I don't give a shit about any of that. If I do it, I'm doing it for its own sake, right?
yeah,
But at the same time, it would be fallacious of me to say that I'm not motivated in some respects by getting views or getting an audience of any kind, small, large, whatever. Like that obviously plays into it. Otherwise, I'd just be having the Zoom call. We wouldn't be recording it. It would just be a conversation between friends, right? So there's a desire to make connections, to do whatever. And as long as that's not the primary motivator for your actions, it's fine to have those types of things. It's
exactly.
fine to
So
have goals. It's fine to have targets and whatever. But it can't be your number one motive. You have to love what you're doing for its own sake and be ready for it to fail hard and still be willing to do it, because then
yeah,
it doesn't matter what happens. Like you said, 0 people watch this. We'll be back next month, folks.
yeah. That's the thing.
Right?
It's like I wasn't saying that it's not present. I guess
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
like we would just not be recording this, and I wouldn't have a YouTube channel. It's just that it's that it's I don't really. It's not my primary thing. But
That's
if
right. It's
you there's a
bonus if
lot
it
of people.
happens.
There's a lot of people that it's their primary thing, and quite
Of
literally, it's
course.
tied to their income, which is crazy too. Like influencers, that's
Yeah,
like
man.
how many people are responding and liking your stuff.
It's
It's
wild.
it's tied to your living. So it's like, what does that do to your brain? That must be crazy, bro. Because right now I'm doing this. I'm not making any money off of this. We're
Nope.
just doing this for fun.
Yeah,
We're
man.
doing it. I guess
Passion
maybe
project.
it's a passion project, and we're
Yeah,
doing it
man.
to just to do it, and just to
Yeah.
have some, live life a little bit and explore each other's mind, and ultimately grow. Like all of these things, I'm not just doing it to grow in terms of like numbers on YouTube in the back of my mind. I'm also in the back of my mind doing it to grow
Yeah.
knowledge
As a
basically.
person. Yeah, man.
Yeah, all of these conversations that I've had with people, I've grown so much in the past year that I've been doing this, like insane
Yeah.
amount that I didn't even expect it to be like this. And it doesn't even have to be in terms of podcasts for anybody. If there is anybody listening, it can be in terms of any of that. You get lost in the process of whatever you're doing. Like say you're a writer, if you dedicate yourself to writing for a year, fast forward 1 year from now, you'll be like, "Wow, how did I come so far?" You might even have a whole book, maybe two books written,
Yeah,
whatever it
man.
is. It's just that don't rely, and it's hard in today's world. We don't rely on what other people think. It's skill to be able to do that. Don't rely on if nobody's watching or nobody's viewing it, because maybe someday they will.
I follow a couple dudes on YouTube. They post videos regularly, and sometimes it's like 1, 2 views, and they just keep doing it because exactly what you're describing. They're not doing it for an audience. They're not doing it to get famous. They're doing it because they're compelled to do it. Obviously, they love doing it. They enjoy it, and they're putting it out there. And it's like, good for you guys. Like, I feel the same way. Like I've made videos about it where I'm like, I don't care if I get views. I'm going to keep making videos, right? I might be taking a break right now, but like when I get the hunger, I'll be back. And
Yeah.
again, there's no connection to popularity or growth. It's like, no, I feel compelled to do this. I'm going to do it regardless. Sure. It'd be awesome if, people saw it and I was able to make more connections like the ones that we've made with different people. But if it doesn't happen, it's okay. I feel I got to do it. I got to scratch the itch. So,
Yeah.
and like you said, getting lost in it, the whole process, right? At re-listening to it, which I fucking love, because
Mm.
like, whenever, this, you post this one, right? I'll listen to it probably a week in, and it's like, I don't remember a fucking thing about that conversation. It's like, I'm
Yeah,
hearing
right.
it for the first time because I'm not here right now. There's no thoughts. I'm
Yeah.
just, I am this conversation. And then when I'm back to being my normal self and I'm like working and listening to something on the side, it's like, holy fuck, I don't remember any of this. It's like a
Yeah.
different person was there. It's wild.
Well, it
Person
is
who
cool.
sounds like me.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to say is that I think the things that we talk about in our videos, I'm not trying to toot our horn here, but the things we
Mhm.
talk about are a lot more than just like pop culture or anything. We're talking about some lasting human values that they it's like things that ring true throughout the human experience. It's not just something like, we're talking about sports. We're talking about stuff that 100 years from now,
Universal. Yeah.
universal truths of the human experience. So like I have this thought before. I'm like, I think people are going to watch me in the future. I think there's going to be people that are going to like study these videos after we're dead. Just like we watch old videos of people when they're dead. I think people are going to watch like, wow, look at them. They wore these big headphones and had these big microphones. And why couldn't they just hook up like we do to the thing in their brain? And
The
they're just
virtual cloud. Yeah.
yeah, so hello, people in the future. Welcome.
So
2021 is a crazy year, but yeah, we're making it through. I thought that. I'm like, there's probably going to be people that maybe I won't even be alive anymore. But there's going to be some day where people are going to watch me and the conversations that I've had with these people. And that's kind of what I do it for, too. It's like a sense of immortality. It's like weird.
yeah,
It's like my
totally.
ego just
It's
wanting
on
to
the
survive.
record, right? It's like
Yeah.
whatever happens, this has been recorded. People can see it. It's a public record.
Yeah, and it's like I said, we're not just talking about some, shallow stuff. We're talking about like some cool stuff for the human experience. And that's what I do it for. I do it for like a lasting effect. Like I'm here for a short while. I'm going to give my imprint here. I'm going to give back a little bit while I can through my
Mhm.
own curiosity and talking to people like you and people all over the world. I don't do it for necessarily getting popular now. I don't care if I'm popular now while I'm in this body. Like I'm good. My life's good. I'm taken care of. Like I got money, I got friends, I got family, I got my health. I'm good, bro. Like I don't
Yeah.
need any of these things that people chase. I don't need validation. I got people that like me in my real life, real friends, which is a thing. Having
Yeah.
real friends nowadays, and I have friends like you, friends online that I made. So
Yeah,
it's
man.
just like I don't need any of the stuff that people are chasing. So I'm just doing this project for fun. I'm just doing this as a way to like, I'm here for a very short while, and all of us are. So this is my way of giving back to humanity, giving back a little bit. Maybe if you're curious enough and you go through and listen to these conversations, you're probably going to get something. Obviously, I say some dumb stuff, and there's some stuff that this doesn't necessarily uh, pertain to personal growth all the time, but there's some really good gems, and not even necessarily from me. I'm just an idiot. From the people that I've talked to, the people
You
and
got
the
some good
subjects
ones
that
too, buddy. You
I
got some
guess
good
I'm all
ones
right.
too. Don't be
I'm all
too
right.
humble. Yeah, yeah. You got some good insights, man.
But there's people that I've spoken to that are further out than me, like way further on this path, and they're giving me this insight. So if there's people that are curious enough, whether while I'm alive or after I'm dead, they're gonna get some knowledge, a little bit of knowledge, and they might help them out a little bit. And that's kind of what I do it for.
Yeah,
Like I
man.
said, it might not be here. I might not get the recognition while I'm here, but I don't think the internet's going anywhere. Like for as long as that there's no comet coming down, and the world's not ending, the internet's going to be here forever. And so is this conversation that we're having, which is pretty trippy to think about, right? Like
Yeah.
this, we think we're just in a Zoom call and we're just shooting the shit and just talking about life, but
We're
this
immortal, bro.
but essentially, this is a way to cement ourselves into a weird way of immortality. Like Timothy Leary had a quote. He said, "If Socrates was alive today, he'd have a talk show." And I was like, "Wait, this is just
That's
like
what you're
modern.
doing.
This is just like modern philosophy." I'm not gonna say that I'm on the level of Socrates. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But it's cool that like maybe if Socrates was alive today, he had his own podcast, I'd be able to talk to him just like we're talking to now. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm talking to people that have been monks for like 20, 30 years. And I'm just like, yo, this is forever. This is a way for me to like be here, cement myself here more than just like, hey, look at me. I'm doing something cool. Look at me. Look at my abs. It's like, no, I'm cementing a way to further the human evolution here. That's kind of how I see it. And
Yeah.
like I said, I don't I don't I don't care if people watch me here and now. And I just think it's cool what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm just having fun at this point. But
Hmm.
getting to it, yeah, the biggest reason in the back of my head why I'm doing it is just like, well, it's forever. What we're doing is forever. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, I get you. I feel the same way, man. My reasons are find the others, right? I mean, put out a bat signal, see if any Batmans show up, right? Because like if you're online and you're in this kind of circle, and like I've met you, I met the boys, cultivating connection. I met some other people over the years, and so it's like this is a way to kind of find other people like yourself, in a way that's interesting at the same time, because you're not just putting an ad out or something. Like you're creating content and then seeing other people's content, and it kind of brings you together. But yeah, I think passing on some of the stuff that I've read and learned and been taught, from the great teacher. Obviously, it's like when you see a really good movie and you call your friends and you like want to tell them to watch it. That's how
Hmm.
I feel about the philosophy, the spirituality, all of the stuff, the art of living, basically. That's how I feel about it. It's like it's so good. It feels so good, and it's helped me so much, and I just want to like share the wealth, man. It's free. It's free 99. I didn't pay for it. I got it from books. I
Exactly.
got it from teachers. I got it from YouTube. Got it from chatting with people, meeting people that are on the same path, but have been on it for many more years than I have, and learning from them. And so it's like, the least I can do. I love chatting with people. I love creating content. So it's like, well, why don't I combine these interests and just put it out there, right?
Yeah,
And every
exactly.
once in a while, people are like, well, that was really helpful. And other times it's just crickets. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter. It's like you said, it's out there. And, maybe, 40 years from now, I die and my kids can always watch these conversations. They can see me over the years talking about nonsense that, they probably don't care about, but whatever. So yeah, it lives on, right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's, like you said, it's the least you can do. Like we're not really doing much here. This isn't really that much out of my day,
No.
but it's also helping us grow. Like just
Yeah.
having this conversation is actually probably good for our brain. Just being able to like, first of all, keep our attention span for what, hour and a half. That's
Yeah.
huge. Being
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
train our brain and draw those neural pathways of being able to focus on something for that long, and
Yeah.
especially focusing on each other's, like we're like weirdly connected through time and space right now. Like we're focusing on each other's on each other's presence, but
Yeah.
through time and
Yeah.
space. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's a very alternative way to think, because most people are just on TikTok, just scrolling, just waiting, looking for the next thing.
I don't know about other people, but yeah, all I know is these types of conversations for me are meditation, because the mind
Yeah.
is completely absent from this. I'm not thinking. When I'm listening to you talk, I'm fully engaged in listening to you. There's no like, what am I going to say next? Da, 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 right? And
Mm.
I have these types of conversations with you and with other people in my life, and I'm always blown away by it, because it's like,
Yeah.
sometimes in social situations, you're like, oh, what am I going to say? You have your inner dialogue or whatever. The mind just goes away, and I become fully immersed in it. And so for me, it's like active meditation, right? Because there's
Yeah.
stuff happening. I'm not just sitting, but the mind is so quiet, and it's so strange, because it's like, who's talking? Well, clearly the mind is not the source of the personality, right? And that's
Yeah.
another sort of ding ding for me, that it's like, yeah, I am much more than the mind. I am much deeper than the mind, and if it's in my field of awareness, it's not me. So anything that I'm aware of, that's not my true essential nature, right?
Mm.
I'm the awareness itself, and objects of awareness are different from what I truly am. So, um,
100%.
and the mind is a thing, right? You're aware of the mind. It's like it starts talking to you, or you start having thoughts. You're the awareness. You're the field of awareness, and the mind is operating on that field, and you're aware of your own thoughts, but you're not your thoughts. And that's how you and I can have a in-depth conversation about this kind of stuff without even thinking. You don't even need the
Yeah.
fucking mind. Bye bye. No,
Yeah.
be quiet. Grown folks are chatting. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
trippy.
Right? Like the most times I come out of these, like you said before, we come out of this and we're like, what did we just talk about? What did I just even talk about? It's just like something else
Yeah.
takes over when I come on this thing. And it
Yeah.
is touching upon a totally different part of my brain that I didn't know exist before I started this whole project, is tapping into that part where I can just, it's like let go, I guess, in a way, and just whatever comes up, whatever you say, I don't know what you're going to say, and you don't know what I'm going to say, but we usually respond, pretty well. It's like a tennis match, back and
Yeah.
forth. And
Yeah.
being able to tap into that, that's definitely a skill, because if we can do that now, we can do that with anybody outside. It just ultimately makes our conversation skills a lot better. But yeah, going to the deepest point of it, it allows you to see like, wait, I'm not even the one that's coming up with the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. It just seems to be like some kind of alternate force in my being that's just being able to spew out these ideas. And then I'm like, where did these ideas come from? I'm like, I don't even remember having this idea.
Yeah.
I don't remember being able to formulate words like this. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty, it's a pretty trippy thing. And that's another reason why I'm glad I started this whole thing, is being able to get lost in the process of this. This has been a
Hmm.
whole learning experience. And like you said, it's a giant meditation, especially when I'm talking to people that are like, when you talk to people that, we're just kind of like talking bros here, I mean, we're not really talking too deep. When you get into like the human condition and you're
Yeah.
staying on this wavelength and this kind of like cognitive process, it's just like, it's like a psychedelic experience in itself, like when I
Yeah.
talk to Ajahn Sana and other monastics and people that have been doing stuff like that, and we get into the depths of the human condition. It's like, it's a whole other layer. It's like, I gotta go take a walk after this conversation type of thing. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
very, very trippy, very transformative. That the power of conversation with the right person is in itself a very, very powerful experience. Very could be transformative if you're talking to the right person, you ask them the right questions, or maybe you say the right things, or whatever, back and forth.
Hmm.
Whatever, if the interaction is very fruitful, it can be worthwhile to your own growth. The thing is, most conversations, I'll have to say like 99% of conversations that human beings have are just shallow. And I'm not knocking it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, you know,
It's by necessity, I think,
yeah,
like it takes, and again, this is going to sound like, well, look at these fucking guys just like self-congratulatory or whatever, but it does take practice to, sorry, let me step back. In order to have conversations like this, you have to be able to be vulnerable. You have
mm,
to be able to be open, right? And I think that's just hard for a lot of people. It's not something that we're taught to do. It takes a lot of practice, in my experience, anyways. It's
especially
taken
on
me
the
a lot of
internet.
time, right? Yeah, with internet stranger and people watching as well. Like there's a comment section, like we could get
Hmm.
trolled, whatever. So I think, but even just without recording it, I think it's hard for people to have these types of conversations because, again, we might not be going as deep as people who've been living in monasteries for 30 years, but we're not having a conversation about the football game, right? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I can count on two hands probably the number of people I can have these types of conversations with. And like, even my best friend, like we can't go here, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's my bro. He's my brother from another mother, but it takes a certain comfort level, certain openness and humility as well, because you can have conversations with spiritual people, but they'll stop you, correct you, want to argue with you about everything, and a lot of the times it's semantical. It's because like you're talking about the ego, but they understand a different thing by that
Yeah.
term, and you're like, guy, we're talking about the same thing, and they just want to like nitpick. So yeah, it takes a certain amount of openness, humility, vulnerability to have these types of conversations, and I just don't think those are qualities that are very prevalent, again, because they're not taught, man. It's no one ever even teaches you about this stuff, like,
Mm.
you know
Yeah, we're like, here we go again, patting ourselves on the back. We're like the modern day philosophers, in terms of like being able to do this is very. That's why I think people are gonna watch in the future, bro. Because like,
Maybe, yeah.
you
And we're
got
talking
all
about
these.
ancient shit too, right? So it's like if the archaeologists want to know, say that we've lost all the ancient books, they can learn about Marcus Aurelius on my channel.
Yeah,
They can learn about the classics. They can learn all these interviews that you have with people that have like Buddhist backgrounds and all these different things, right? So
yeah,
yeah, we're capturing it for sure. I think it's awesome, man. I love it. And like I said to you earlier, like the number of views makes no difference because sometimes I go on my channel. This is going to sound stupid. Again, self-congratulatory. I'll listen to old videos and I'm like, I get stuff out of it because a lot
yeah,
of the times the videos when I'm recording, it's the same thing as this conversation. The mind isn't involved. The personality of Oliver, not really there. And so when I'm watching it, it's like, I don't even remember recording this. So
hmm.
who was talking? Right.
I don't know.
but
It's
it, but sometimes I listen and I'm like, holy shit, I needed to hear that today. So it's like, even if nobody else watches it, I'll watch it.
yeah, for real, man. 100%. It
Yeah.
is very trippy. It's almost like
Messages from
there's.
the past, man.
It's like this format of one on one, or maybe talking to 2 3 other people, um in recording it in long form. it forces me to be in a way very authentic because, like I said, I don't know what you're going to say. And then based upon what you're going to say, I have to formulate what I'm going to say. So there's no like, I've tried to plan out videos before, like write stuff down, and then I go on camera. I'm just like, oh, doesn't, dude, you're just being fake. Like this doesn't sound right.
Doesn't feel right.
I don't have a choice to be like, I can't really be that fake here. Like there's no plan. There's no like, maybe if I say it this way or I try to like make a joke or writing, like, no, this is actually just me talking to you on camera like we would be if we were in the same room. So it's a way to like channel something, like an essence that's inside of me and you, and I think anybody else that does this. It's a way to channel a kind of sense of authenticity that you wouldn't get if it wouldn't be the same, I would say, if you tried to do it in like a form where you got everything written down, you're doing jump cuts on video, and I don't know. There's just like this weird realness about being able to have a podcast like this and going off on these topics and going off with another person, especially, at least for me. I don't, like you said, I don't feel like my ego is here, even though there totally is to people listening and on the screen. I don't feel like I'm trying to like have any kind of plan or purpose here or way that I want to look or sound. Like I feel like that there is some kind of channeling at this point. Like I'm channeling some kind of maybe some kind of intelligence in me that lays dormant that I don't really know how to tap into on video and through the mic other than with somebody else. You know, it's almost like when I'm speaking with people like you, the only way that I can bring this person, this thing, this essence, this spirit out is when I'm with somebody else, because I know that if I'm acting inauthentic or like acting fake or like acting like not real, I guess, that the other person's gonna notice it. So it's just gonna be like, it's hard to explain, man. But it's just like
I get what you're saying.
It's like the other person holds me accountable in the conversation to be authentic on camera and speak real, I guess you could say, or speak the truth, quote unquote.
Whatever that is for you at that moment. That's authenticity, man. It's interesting that you talk about that. I've tried it both ways. I've tried doing videos for the first few years. I just did them like completely off the cuff, usually while riding in my minivan. I would just have a quote and then I would just talk, right? And I just let the spirit guide me. Sometimes I would overthink it and it would come out like crap. But a lot of the times these videos that I was telling you about, I watch them and I'm like, I don't remember any of this. Like, I don't remember saying it, because it's like, I wasn't talking. So this whole like channeling experience that you're describing, very familiar with that. I do that when I write in my journal now too. Like I'll meditate and get a clear mind and I open it to a blank page and I don't go in with a plan, but shit just comes, man.
You do like automatic writing?
Essentially, yeah, in a way, but it's always like an ongoing dialogue with the great teacher, as I like to call her. Like this force of wisdom that's in all of us, right? And I think the reason I came up with the metaphor of the great teacher is because, like, when I read Marcus Aurelius with the Tao or the Bhagavad Gita, I saw the same messages. So I was like, well, clearly it wasn't Marcus or Lao Tzu or whoever wrote the Gita that was saying this. They were inspired by the great teacher, and because in every religion and every philosophy you go through and you look, you find the same handful of things. So I was like, clearly it comes from one source. So that's how I describe her, the great teacher. But you can talk to her anytime. And it, through meditation, through this recording process that you're describing, even without another person, I guarantee you, Gary, if you just meditate, 15, 20, whatever you do, take an edible, whatever, get right with yourself, turn on the camera and start recording, and without any plan, you're going to fucking put out some interesting stuff. Yeah. It's not going to be you. It's not going to be Gary. Right. So I think that
it's not as easy though. Like I just feed off of other people's energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've noticed that too. Yeah. It's awkward, right? I find it awkward just talking to a camera by myself. It's like, I'm not authentic, like you said, because it's not an authentic situation, right? It's not like I'm talking to an actual person. I'm trying to manufacture something that's fake in a way. But I've tried scripting videos as well. I went through a stint where I tried to write a series on spiritual exploration, and I didn't really enjoy that at all. I mean, so I think for me, the happy medium, if and when I start doing these again, will be to point form some shit just so I can stay on track, but not write down anything word for word and just kind of go and
and then you can
try
channel.
Different. Exactly. Yeah. But my problem is I think similar to yours, I would go on a tangent, right? I'm talking about this, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, where was I again?
Yeah, a
No
little too much
idea.
channeling.
Yeah, and then the video is way too long because it's like, well, I wanted to make this point, but I talked for this much, and I don't know
Yeah,
where to cut, and so
yeah.
yeah, it's just a hassle.
I know what you
Yeah,
mean, man. I want to get on the topic of the great teacher because I think that's pretty it's pretty cool, and I know what you're talking about. Do you think it's just like this is like this guidance? Would you call it like God in a way? Like there's this kind of internal guidance that you can tap into, and it'll tell you like which way to go and what to do and what to say and how to
yeah,
act.
yeah. I think there's a lot of different metaphors for it, and again, throughout like the Atma and in the Bhagavad Gita, I think that's kind of what we're talking about, right? And they tell you in the Gita that the Atma and the Brahman are one and the same, right? Seeds from the same tree. So you've got a small version or miniature version of the great source of all being inside of you, and so everything that it knows, you can tap into that knowledge somehow. It might not be like you'll hear a voice in your head that tells you the answer, but like you said, it'll point you in the right direction. It'll tell you what's right for you, and sometimes I think it can channel through the mind and come out as language, which again, that's what I do with my journaling. It's like I just start writing, and it's just like da, 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 da. I have no idea what I'm going to write. It's just coming out. Yeah, I think it comes from that source. And yeah, nature, God, Tao, whatever you want to call it, there's an intelligence. Even if you're a hardcore atheist, you believe in nature. There's an intelligence to nature.
Mm,
There's an intelligence to the universe. Even stars. If you don't want to call it intelligence, there's a structure that is not just random.
yeah, like an
There's
order.
there's an
Hmm.
order, law, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, nature is a great vehicle for knowing the great teacher,
Mm,
because nature is the great teacher's kind of crudest method, like it's
hmm.
indiscriminatory. It's not always pretty. And again, interestingly enough, when I study nature and I look at the way things are on a grand scale, that tells me that life feeds on life, right?
Hmm.
And so I respect, vegetarians, vegans, and everything like that. But in the past, I've had some militant vegans come at me, and that's always what I tell them, is that there's nothing on this earth that is alive that doesn't feed on life. And those are the rules. Now we can talk about the ethics of factory farming, which I'm again totally opposed to. It's a sickness. It's part of this profit-driven system that we're in, clearly, right? Because they're putting profit ahead of the well-being of these sentient beings, which shouldn't happen.
Yep.
But at the same time, life feeds on life. And, for whatever reason, humans have evolved to be semi-carnivorous. Again, we can talk about overconsumption of meat, right? We eat too much of it, 100%. But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with eating meat. It's just that's the pattern. If you look everywhere, like in order for us to be here, a star had to go supernova to see the elements for our planet and
Yep.
for everything that it's given rise to. Death and destruction lead to life and creation. From decay comes growth, vice versa. This is the way of the universe, the entire
Hmm.
cosmos, right? As far as we can see with our telescopes. So, yeah, I mean, nature is a great way to learn about the great teacher.
Mm,
Science as well, right? Because now you're studying the great teacher's basic will, like how are things built, how do things work. You're getting into the mechanics of it, and then you get to really see her intelligence, right? Like Einstein believed in a god, and he saw intelligence in the universe. He didn't believe in Yahweh, he didn't believe in an invisible bearded sky daddy, but he believed in a god, and he was a hardcore scientist. He got into it so deep that eventually he was like, holy shit, there's something at work here, and it's
yeah.
bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
Science leads you there too, right? All roads lead to the great teacher. You just got to go far. You just got to keep going. You just can't stop, because you can stop at a pit stop and go, oh, I found it. And it's like, nope, keep going. Great teachers at
Yeah.
the end of this road. You just got to continue. Science, mysticism, spirituality, philosophy, they all take you there, right?
Mm, I know what you mean, dude. Yeah, because a lot of people they either stop at the God of Yahweh, or they stop at pragmatism and science. Because I was at a point where I just believed in rationale and science, and like there's it's just if we don't have a scientific study for it, it doesn't exist. There's no there, I didn't believe in any such order or any such plan, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But you got to keep going, like you said. You don't stop there. You gotta like nope, you're almost there. You got to realize that like wait, no, there is some
Yeah.
kind of underlying order. I think Nikola Tesla said if you want to know the truth of the universe, you study it in terms of what do you say, energy,
Mm-hmm.
vibration,
Yeah.
electrons, something like that. And that's kind of that if you want to find God, it's that. And the thing is, the vibrations and the frequency, you can study that with scientific instruments, but you can also study that within yourself as well. You can
Yeah.
feel the vibe, but you can study also, you can study it with instruments. So
Yeah.
yeah, there is something synonymous. There is some kind of like certain, I guess, energy that's just propelling us through time. Like there's some kind of,
Yeah.
it's
There's
not like a
something.
there's not like a entity. There's no external entity with its puppet string. It's more of
Yeah.
just like this centrifugal force that runs throughout all of us, runs throughout time, no matter what time period you were born in. Like Marcus Aurelius picked it up. They picked it up, like you said, in the Bhagavad Gita, and we're picking it up now. Maybe
Yeah.
through this conversation, maybe through when you journal, maybe through when you paint a picture, maybe
Hmm.
through when you're in meditation. But there is some kind of guardian in a way. What do you say? It's the great teacher. That's what you say, right?
That's
Yeah.
just one metaphor, man. Honestly, there's so many, any metaphor that you attach to it, any word that you attach to it, you're already wrong. So I
Yeah.
think, right off the bat, we're talking about something that you can't contain in a single word or concept. For me, the concept of the great teacher is just one metaphor that I like. And it makes sense to me because yeah, when I, again, like I explained to you, everything I read seemed to be coming from a single voice. Like it seemed to be saying the same stuff across ages and cultures. So that's, I like that metaphor. And I call her a she because again, it's not male, female. They're both, right? I mean, the supreme being is both male and female. But as a metaphor, I think that women make better teachers than men. So I go for the great teacher, and it's a female, right? The mother, whatever you want to call her. Um, I like that image, and it just
Mm.
is personal to me. But honestly, I encourage people to come up with whatever metaphor works for you. And if an existing one works for you, if Jesus is your man, as long as you understand that the Christ is within you, amen, brother. Worship Jesus. I read the Sermon on the
Mm-hmm.
Mount recently. Wow. I mean, obviously he was spitting some truth. It's too bad
Mm-hmm.
that so many Christians don't read Jesus. That's the
Yeah.
only downside. But what he said, man, he was again, and I realized he was saying the same shit as the Bhagavad Gita as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Jesus learned some yoga. I wouldn't
Oh,
be surprised.
100%.
And he came back and tried to tell, the Israelites, and the metaphors just kind of got a little bit shuffled around and stuff. But he was on the same thing, man. He was on the same path. There you go. Yeah. Not surprising.
It's a good book. It's by
Oh yeah, I'll
Yogananda.
have to check it out. Yeah.
That's pretty much what happened. But the way is the way is the way. There isn't, Jesus wasn't
Exactly.
the only one. There was
Nope.
plenty of ascended masters that realized that there is this centrifugal force that runs throughout all of us that we can all tap into and go to for guidance. Some may say God, some may say infinite consciousness, some
Yeah.
may say the force, whatever you want to call it. There is something. Once you tap in, you realize that's a thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
wait,
man. The
I
center,
always have this.
same thing again, right? Talking about the
Hmm.
center, right? I like the centrifugal force because that's exactly it. I've likened it to the eye of the storm, right? Like when
Hmm.
you're in the center of the tornado, it's like everything is quiet and still, even though you're surrounded by this like, terrifying force. It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. The centrifugal force, the center, it's inside of you. And the longer you can hang out there and the more often you can be there, the better it is for you. That's my
Yeah.
experience, anyways. And it's always when I stray from the center that I get into trouble, that I
Mm.
start to suffer, that I start to think about, oh, I wish I was, doing this instead of that. I wish that's not fair. I do all these things for them and they don't appreciate me. And the stories and the fucking bullshit come in. When you're in the center, that stuff's around you. It's like the eye of the storm. It
Yeah.
doesn't affect you. You're separated from it. And you can see it 360 degrees. You can see your own bullshit flying around and you're like, okay, I don't need to be a part of that.
Hmm.
Uninvolved, right? It's just, yeah, man, it's hard to stay there permanently in my
Yeah.
experience, once again.
It's okay as long as you know you can get back to it. That's just
Yeah.
like that's pretty much making your life into a giant meditation. It's like that's what meditation is. It's like you have one focus to ground yourself. Like many people use their breath, but you come back to it. Like you lose it and then you come back. So if you do that, you know it's there and you recognize that you can always go back to it. That's really all you need. You're already there.
Yeah,
For the
man.
most part, you just knowing that you can tap in really whenever you want to tap in. That's that's beautiful. That's liberation. That's power in
Mhm.
itself.
Yeah, man.
And you don't get lost at the symbols because it's where a lot of us get lost. Is we get lost at the symbols. We get lost at placing your identity on the symbols. Like I am Christian. I am Jewish.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
Muslim.
Yeah. That's another reason
insert.
I've never adopted any of those terms, even though there's a few of them that might fit the description. I'm like, nope, not calling myself a stoic. Nope, not calling myself
Hmm.
this, not calling myself that, because I'm more than that. I'm more than
Yeah.
that. And I don't want to be limited to one path when they all lead to the great teacher. I have a friend who's always like, you eventually you got to settle and pick one. And I'm like, no, I don't. They're all
Well, yeah,
mine. Sorry,
yeah,
yours is mine too. Like
yeah. Your friend
public
is missing the
property.
point.
No, that's the path that took him where he needed to be, right? And so he's got a his teacher is Ibn Arabi, who was like a Sufi mystic. I think he was around the time of Rumi. Anyways, he loves them, and that's all that's his jam, right? But he's reading the Gita with me, and we're he's open minded, and he sees, even while we're reading the Gita, he's like, this is the exact same thing that Ibn Arabi says. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I know. I'm not
Hmm.
surprised. So, it's interesting, right? But yeah, teach their own. For me, one of the things that I call myself is like the thousand paths walker. I walk all the paths, because there's truth and there's wisdom in all of them, because they all lead to the great teacher. They're all from the same source. So why
Hmm.
quibble? Well, this is Christian and this is, Vedantic, and it's all the same, bro.
It's all the
It's all
same.
the same.
It's all the same. The
Yeah,
truth is
just
one, and the
yeah.
wise call it by many names.
There you go, man. That's it.
That's it, man.
I
Probably
gotta
wrap it up
get.
at that.
Yeah, I think you couldn't find a better way to wrap it up. That was awesome, brother.
Yeah, this is a cool talk, man.
Yeah, always, always. It's been a while. I feel like I haven't chatted to you in a while, so it was good to get with you.
Yeah, it's good that we do it every here and there. We catch up. If we did it every day, we'd probably lose stuff to talk about. We can't talk about infinite consciousness every day.
Mm,
But
I
we
bet
probably
you we'd
could.
be all right.
Yeah, we'd be all
We
right.
wouldn't talk for 2 hours. We'd talk for like half an hour every day. But
Yeah,
it's all good. I like it this way too, because yeah, it seems like there's a lot of content that comes up between, right?
for sure, man. Well, you got any
Super.
closing statements?
No, man, I love you. God bless you. God bless anybody who's watching this. I'm so glad that we got to do this. It felt good. And yeah, I'm starting to feel that hunger. I just got to find some time, and I'm going to start putting some videos out again. So you keep me inspired, because I see you putting it out and I'm like, I want to do it. I just got to do it.
Just do
So
it. Just do
yeah,
it.
man, I'll be back. I'll be back. But yeah, in the meanwhile, these are awesome. I love doing this with you. So thanks, brother.
Thanks, man. Love you too. Love
All right,
you to the
man.
listener, and yeah, let's keep it going. Let's keep doing our thing.
Yeah. Hopefully
Uh,
next time the boys can join us.
yeah, I know, right? They played hoogie. It's all good.
All right, man.
All
Have a good
good.
rest of your Sunday.
Peace out.
Cheers.